Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of BellyUpSports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
But I'll go ahead and say my thing. I've talked about this plenty of times on the podcast. Some people say I'm stupid as hell for saying this, but hey, NWSL did it, and I think that MLS should copy it as well, and that is taking out the MLS Super Draft. I think is a giant waste of time. I'm sorry. I think that there's certain players that do come out of there, and I'm not disagreeing to that. I think that they're obviously the Clint Dempseys, the more recently I would say kind of like guys like Zach Steffen who came from Maryland, and I know that there are some great players that come out of college. I'm not saying that there isn't, but there's just teams that don't use their players. And as a Houston Dynamo fan, I can tell you, we don't really use our draft picks. Most of them end up leaving the club eventually. I mean, Ethan Bartlow, I'm impressed that he's still on the team, but he's actually really good. But aside from that, like there's teams that just don't use their draft picks, or when they draft a guy, but the guy either sits on the reserves or probably is now just hanging out in MLS Next Pro. I've told this to Kelcey, like, you know, the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year is with the Houston Dynamo, and he's hanging out at the Dynamo too. Like he hasn't even like he's only been on the bench. That's literally the furthest he's gone as a Dynamo player has been on the bench for I think it was like CONCACAF Champions League. So like, you know, for me it's just I want the college players to have their best shot at making a team. And I think that the MLS draft kind of hinders that for the biggest storyline right now in the NFL is that there's a kicker for the Dallas Cowboys who didn't pan out in the MLS and just said, fuck it, let me be a kicker in the NFL. So like, and I think he was like a 3rd round pick. I don't think he was like a high draft pick, but that just is like,
yeah, he was like drafted by Toronto the season they won the treble, and like he just didn't get a shot at all, and he just went to Dallas, and he's just fucking murdering it at Dallas.
Yeah. USFL to Dallas, and it's 35 of 35 in his first 35 kicks in the NFL. Not a bad
but that should just tell you like how much certain MLS teams just don't use their players.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the guy's like, you know, he's a goalkeeper, and if he can send an American football past 60 yards, I can only imagine what he can do on a goal kick. So like, and I think so. To me, I'm not dissing college soccer. This isn't me doing that. I'm just saying that the MLS Super Draft doesn't necessarily help those players to get their best chance at making it pro. Because I mean, especially now that there's just players are getting hell. We had a 17-year-old win the Euro, you know, like barely 17-year-old win the Euro. So players are coming out younger and younger, and so these college guys, like, not saying that they're behind, but they kind of are, you know, in some sense. So like for me, if you're a college kid, I want to go to a team that's going to play me. So I still want like the combine and all that being done. I just want them to be able to just, you know, hey, I'm now, I want to go pro, get my agent, and then let's see what the field looks like. Who wants me? Who's going to put me in whose tactics fits best to my play style, and who's going to give me my best shot at playing professionally. And sometimes maybe it's not the MLS, maybe it's the USL, maybe they go overseas. You know, you never know with these guys' careers, right? But I think the MLS Super Draft is a huge hindrance to a lot of these college players.
Not only that, like just the age that you get drafted at 22, 23 years old. But like by that time, you should be entering your prime in Europe. And like these kids, like Lamine Yamal came out at like 16 years old and broke into the Barcelona first, and he's getting comparisons to Messi already, which is absolutely insane. And just the fact that, you know, college kids, like you graduate at what, 17, 18 years old from high school, and at like in Europe at that point, like you better be making it to at least like the second team, and maybe get a couple reps on the bench. But if you're like 17, 18 and you're going to college, and you're not going to get to play pro until you're 23, 24, and you're not even guaranteed to be on the roster by the time the first game of the season comes around.
Exactly.
Yeah, I actually came prepared with stats for this one because it's one of my picks.
Oh.
So last year's draft, 87 players were picked. 2 of them were part of their Generation Adidas initiative, which is insane to think that, okay, these are your guys that are supposed to be next, but only 2 of them are getting drafted, which is crazy. Of those 87, though, 26 were drafted and actually signed with an MLS first team last year. There was over 70%. I don't even want to do the math on how many other numbers. 70% of the remaining draft picks had to choose an MLS Next, USL Championship, USL Pro 2, or NISA team, or they went back to college. There were 20 completely unsigned players that were drafted in last year's Super Draft alone, just in the Super Draft alone. It's insane the number of players. They're just like, yeah, we don't really care, which there's a lot to talk about why this happens, as far as development and all that crap goes. But at the end of the day, the MLS doesn't care about trying to develop a pathway, which is what this whole thing was supposed to be, a pathway for college and high school Americans to be into the MLS. They don't care about that anymore. They just care, can we get more Leo Messis to our league? Can we get, Kevin De Bruyne to our league? Can we get Frank Lampard back to our league? No, sorry, Davi, didn't mean to bring up a sore subject with him, but he
was actually decent
when he played, and that's true. When he played,
he was actually pretty good. He scored the first hat trick in our history, by the way.
Yeah. See,
oh yeah, he did do that.
Yeah, and it was wild. Anyways, but no, it's like the MLS does not care at the end of the day anymore about these MLS super draft kids. Of the last 10 number 1 overalls, 3 were American. Of those 3, 2 are still with their MLS team. Of the last 10 in general, only Kyle Larin and Jack Harrison have gone on to do better things. Everybody else is either out of the league or doesn't get playing time. It's crazy. And those are your number 1. Those are supposed to be the best of the best. And they're not even either in the league or getting playing time.
Also just the fact that Chicago Fire traded away Harrison in New York City, that'd be like I don't know who the Bears drafting Caleb Williams and then drafting him to fucking Kansas City or something like that.
I mean, you could basically use the San Francisco 49ers trading Trey Lance to the Cowboys. I mean,
except for Jack Harrison was actually good.
Except Jack Harrison was a good player.
Yeah.
Trey Lance is fucking third fiddle to Cooper Rush.
We don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, Kelcey, we know you're a Cowboys fan, and Davi
it hurts.
Davi just found that out, but that was bad.
I'm a Giants fan. We can't even beat a shit Dallas Cowboys team, man. But
I wish you would.
Yeah,
I'm so done with the Cowboys now. I'm ready to.
You know what, man? We lost the Panthers. I'm just ready for Cam Ward to be a Giant.
See, here's the thing, though. Because I know that the outsiders and obviously the non-MLS fans that joke about the draft, about American sports, about you're the worst team, you get a great player. But I'm like, the NFL draft, you get this feeling like when you get that early pick and you're gonna get your guy, right? I mean, Houston Texans, prime example, CJ Stroud. We drafted this guy. We don't know if he's gonna be good or not. Until he gets on the field, and then he steps on the field, wins Rookie of the Year, and you're like, all right, this is our guy. This is the guy that's going to lead us to the future. So I know that the excitement of what the draft can be. I don't get that excitement from the MLS Super Draft. I honestly I don't even get that same excitement from the NBA draft. But I mean, now recently, kind of getting it a little bit more now. But now it's like I said, I don't get excitement from the MLS Super Draft. I just think, it's this guy that's probably going to not even sniff the bench, and
No, honestly, I couldn't even tell you who the top 10 prospects are going into the MLS Super Draft next year because
and the coverage sucks for it too. By the way,
like you have to rely on Soccer America, which no offense, Soccer America, they're doing the best they can in that situation, or some ACC, Big 12, Big 10 reporter to give you details on their soccer season. Like you have to either compile it yourself now in 2024 when stats are available for literally anything. Except for MLS soccer.
There was only 1 year, I would say that only 1 year there was this no shit. This is the guy, the number 1 draft pick. This is guy is going to turn this whatever franchise around. And that was Jordan Morris. The dude never even got drafted because Seattle signed him before the draft, which I don't know how the hell that happened. That I still to this day.
Because he was a part of their academy.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, it, to me was like this kid was supposed to be the number 1 overall draft pick, but then Seattle just swooped right in and And once again, and which is funny because this kid had a chance to go to Germany, and the only reason why I know this
He
is
turned
because
down Werder Bremen just to play for the Sounders.
yeah.
Yep.
And the only reason why I know is because Jermaine Jones was drunk one day and went on Instagram and just went on a whole rant about it, which is still one of my favorite moments of Jermaine Jones.
The kid that set up Dos Acero as popular as it is right now, the statement when it comes to U.S. Mexico, decided not to go to Werder Bremen. How crazy is that? With when you consider
Especially
this
at that time
development?
when there was just every promising American player was playing in the Bundesliga at that time. So insane. But yeah, MLS Super Draft, it sucks. I say get rid of the draft. I still say the combine should be there. I still think the combine is a good resource, but let these college students get their pick of the litter. Like I said, NWSL is doing it now to make it for a reason for some of these MLS teams to do it. I think there's got to be some sort of incentive that MLS needs to implement, like, you know, maybe give them like a TAM or CAM. Once again, I have no fucking idea what TAM and CAM is, anyways. Or GAM, general allocation money, target allocation. You can't. Dude, I need someone like sit me down and just explain to me like I was four what the hell that means. And maybe Davi knows it better than I do, but yeah, I like there needs to be some sort of incentive. Like, hey, if you sign this many players, we'll add this much TAM and GAM for you to go after certain players, because obviously these guys could obviously these college kids are gonna be cheap, right? Like you're not gonna probably spend like plus like maybe 200 grand for one of these guys.
Oh, not even 200.
Not
grand.
even.
The
Like,
average MLS salary is $74,000.
All right, so yeah, you're not even gonna hit 100 grand on these guys. So I mean, financially wise, it makes them like if you're a San Jose, you're going to that combine and you're gonna fit a starting 11 just from those guys alone. But like, there needs to be some sort of incentive to like give them a reason to go after these guys, besides the fact that maybe you just can't afford anybody and this is your best bet. I think that more MLS teams need to do that. And I think that's my solution. You guys can tell me whether or not that's a dumb idea or not.
I completely agree, because otherwise you're just going to have like a Philadelphia Union like situation where they just pass on every single one of their draft picks because they have such a good academy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of either getting rid of the super draft as a whole and keeping the combine, or leave the super draft. Like, this is an alternative for the super draft. Leave the super draft for guys that don't get picked up by a team and can't go back to college as a path to a academy club. This MLS Next Pro situation should be used more often. And if guys don't get picked up by a team, and let's say by the start of the season, whenever that day becomes, if the schedule ever changes, then they're eligible for a super draft. So like 1 month in, you have an eligible super draft for these guys that didn't go to a team, and then they're your MLS Next Pro teams. That seems more reasonable. Like, give them an opportunity, or hey, maybe create a alternate league that you have enough developmental talent that you can feed into the league. I don't know. There's so many options that are available, but I don't know about getting rid of it completely. But I don't hate the idea of like, there's no reason there should be so much of an importance put on it for the MLS when, like Davi says, there are teams that just don't care and will literally just be like, yeah, I don't want to draft anybody.
I think especially now where you have MLS Next, like you have like this pathway from academy to professional.
I mean, there are 26 teams, 27 teams, or no, what is it, 29 teams in the MLS? There should be 20.
Soon to be 30.
We'll be 30.
There should be 29, 30 MLS Next Pro and MLS 2 and MLS Academy, clubs. So that should be an extra 60 plus, or I guess that'd be 90 plus, developmental teams if we want to really talk about that. And that's what you can fill with the super draft if you really want to do it. It's ridiculous that the super draft has such importance, and it's a waste of money, really.
Yeah. Especially when you try to do this whole, which I mean, I think the last few times it's been, they haven't even put it on Apple TV, by the way, because that's how big of like a nothing burger it is. It goes on YouTube.
Yeah, but it's been via teleconference for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
They don't even do it in person anymore.
Yeah, I do remember that now. They basically treat it like COVID. It's just a Zoom. It's just a giant Zoom call. But